Trust in the system has become eroded, but I believe that MC12 is a chance to start putting that right.
Y es indispensable que la reforma que se propone en la Organización Mundial de Comercio responda a los intereses de los países que hoy están excluidos.
Without a strong WTO, we will not achieve what we want.
We need to ensure that the WTO remains fit for purpose.
We are end users of the WTO. And when we think about the WTO, for it to be useful for us, it has to function. It has to be fit for purpose for the 21st century. The issues it deals with have to deal with issues to do with the 21st century, and it needs to get its operating model into some order. So it needs to actually grapple with issues that it's been told to grapple with because they're relevant issues. It needs to have credibility. It needs to be dealing with issues to do with the pandemic.
We believe, honestly, there has to be reforms that effectively address the concerns and priorities of developing countries, particularly mandated issues which remain unresolved but are still extremely important. As you're well aware, Africa is endowed with enormous resources, and it provides us with the opportunity of being a major player in the global economy. In spite of Africa's potentials, it continues to face both internal and external challenges, which impedes its integration into the global economy.
The world is changing, rapidly digitalizing, and I think that the digital trade rule that could really pave the path to bring many other developing countries into this fast track of development. Digital trade can really help the small and medium enterprises and also mom and pop businesses around the world to really lift themselves up and have better access to the global market. But in any country, small and medium enterprises they need some capacity building. They need skills training.
Esta reforma no tiene que ser concentrada simplemente en los objetivos del comercio. El comercio no es un fin en sí mismo. El comercio es un instrumento que debe servir objetivos superiores, incluyendo el tener en cuenta los sectores más vulnerables de la población, la situación de la mujer en muchos países. Se ha hablado recién de la importancia del comercio electrónico, pero debemos recordar también que la agricultura es un tema del siglo XXI, que estos temas siguen siendo fundamentales para que el siglo XXI ofrezca oportunidades de desarrollo, de crecimiento, de bienestar en todos los países, incluyendo hoy en los países más vulnerables.
We cannot ignore the fact that the rules of the road in global trade are dated, and that the WTO rulebook is struggling to keep pace with both the global challenges of the present and indeed the industries of the future. Climate change, sustainability, digitalization, our response to the pandemic. We must be able to make progress on all of these issues at the WTO.
Trade is absolutely important. Without a strong trade, without a strong WTO, we will not achieve what we want, a long-term growth, more sustainable, more inclusive for the next decade. So we think this is key, as I said before, not only for trade and for growth, but for inclusiveness, for energy, for fighting climate change, for the digital development. So this is very clear to us.
We need concrete results at MC12. That is necessary to show that the WTO is back on track and that it can deliver for members and people relying on trade to drive a strong economic recovery. Trade must be part of the economic recovery from this pandemic. It can and should be.